Welcome back. This is Nicole McNamara, your host for the official podcast for Season 2 of the HBO documentary series 100 Foot Wave. Ideally, you've just watched Episode 2, which is titled The Circus is Burning. We call it the circus because when you're standing on the cliff, you look out at the sea, which used to be empty. Maybe you'd have one or two jet skis. Now you look out in the water and it looks like a circus, an Evel Knievel circus of jet skis just driving around, circling each other, vying for the perfect position to catch the biggest wave in the world. So the stakes of big wave surfing in Nazaré have reached a whole new level in Season 2.
I finally saw a wave and it was like, we're going, dude. I don't care who's on the wave. I've been waiting for 3 hours for one wave. The next one is ours. All of a sudden, I can feel something on my leg and I can hear the lineup go like, whoa! And I'm like, what was that? Was that, you know, a jet ski? Was it a surfboard? Is the guy fine? What happened? Who was it?
With so many surfers and jet ski drivers joining the circus, you have multiple people going for one single wave. And in this episode, we see two surfers crash into each other. And then a fight breaks out, which has never happened.
Like, he went straight into me. I mean, those boards are heavy. That thing hits you, man, that kills you.
Nazaré is a shit show these days. I mean, there's more hype, there's more money, there's more ego, there's more fame. And that all leads up to one breaking point.
And if head-on collisions aren't enough, we have the massive rocks in front of the lighthouse, and being up on the cliff, being a spotter and watching your teammate end up on the rocks, there's nothing you can do. Your jet ski driver, your safety driver, there's nothing they can do because they cannot drive a ski in there to rescue the surfer, and it's a helpless situation.
He went into the corner by the rocks, and it's the last place you want to be. Alessandro went in to get him, got him, decided to go back out, but then you see this big out of control side wave just take him out. And then they're both stuck in there.
Like, I feel near death gets thrown around a lot, but when you look at these rocks, if you end up on them, your chances of survival are slim. Spotting is a job that I take very seriously because at the end of the day, it is my husband's life and my best friend's life and my brother's life. And to add to the tension, it's the height of the pandemic and no one had anything to do. So I guess they thought, let's go watch the big waves. So you had a sea of surfers and jet skis in the water, and you had a sea of people on land. The lighthouse is packed. It was standing room only. You couldn't move. And I've been up on top of the lighthouse where the best, clearest spot to spot is since day one when no one was allowed there. And now when I go up there and I don't have my spot to be watching the surfers because there are other people without important jobs standing there, it can get really frustrating. I feel like I need a golden beach chair that's like always there. It's like a statue.
You know, we're middle of COVID and there's 30, 50,000 people on the cliff. I mean, that's crime.
You know, football, you can't have football matches, there's no crowds, and then you got 30,000 people on the cliff, you know, watching people surf. You know, it's I think that was, and so then the city hall had to juggle that.
So because of the sea of people, the government, instead of policing the people on land, they decide to police the ocean, but just in Nazaré. So they ban surfing because they don't want people to come watch the surfers. It ended up, you know, being super depressing for a lot of people. These poor surfers who like live for the ocean. It's their only place of solitude. They had to just stand on the beach and watch these perfect waves pass by. Lots of people end up leaving Nazaré because they can't surf, including Garrett and I, because there was no way Garrett was staying in Nazaré if he wasn't able to surf. It was a hard decision because we had spent every winter since 2010, and to leave our home, it's where our best friends are and our family is. It's where we've made our family. And to leave one of our best friends, Andrew Cotton, we call him Cotty. Everybody calls him Cotty. During such a sad time for humanity, but also such a sad time in Cotty's life was really, really difficult.
Safe journey, mate.
Okay. I always don't like leaving Cotty there alone. I'd rather be there with him whenever he's there. I had a sense that he was going through something heavy, but I wasn't sure the extent.
Cotty was going through a lot during the pandemic, as everyone was, but him on a whole nother level. He was actually living in a van on the beach in Nazaré, and I think it could have been the rock bottom for Cotty, in his marital relationship and balancing being a dad while trying to keep his career. It was a real hardship for him.
With the COVID rules and the variants in the UK, it means I couldn't go home. Or if I could, I ran the risk of being stuck at home. So I decided to stay in Portugal and sort of just sit it out, really.
If there's anybody who was affected by the circus that Nazaré has become, it is Cotty. He has been there before the circus, and now he is doing his best to make a career while being part of the circus. Cotty really keeps things to himself, and he's a very private person and a very quiet person, but to know him is to love him. So for this episode of the podcast, I sat down with him to talk with him about his journey into big wave surfing and to surfing in general, what it means to have a dream and a family, which sometimes those two don't go so well together, and why he seems to be Garrett's chosen one. Here I am sitting with my favorite Nazaré big wave surfer, Andrew Cotton. I call him Cotty, or sometimes Cotton Socks. Do you remember how we started calling you Cotty?
Cotton Socks came from Al Many.
Good old Al.
Yeah, good old Al. And then, people have always sort of called me Cotty from my teens, I suppose.
So it's just been with you.
Yeah.
For a lifetime almost.
Yeah, it's followed me around.
Just like surfing, right?
Yeah. I suppose it's funny because obviously being from England, people don't really associate surfing in England, but it's an island, there's loads of fun waves, and it's definitely not Hawaii or tropical paradise, but it's its own different paradise and has nice beaches and fun waves, and it's just a little bit cold.
Yeah. I've always said that the surfers that come from the cold water and the cold environment are the true surfers, because it takes true dedication to put that wetsuit on in the freezing cold. Yeah,
you kind of you got to want it a little bit more because it is cold and it is like getting changed in car parks and they're in the wind and rain. And I think like when I was a kid, it was definitely more seasonal. Like it was more of a summer thing. But then as you sort of, become more obsessed with it, the more sacrifice you're prepared to, or pain you're prepared to put yourself in, really.
In the show, and I know this in real life, but Garrett has this devotion to you.
I always made sure I had my board with me if I really wanted to get away, but I was there for Cotty. There he is.
Out of everyone else, he almost wants to see you succeed more than he cares about his own success right now. Where do you feel that comes from? Like you're almost like the chosen one.
I don't know. Like I feel really fortunate because Garrett, he didn't have to put the time in with me to teach me, how to drive a ski. Don't get me wrong. Like it's hard. Like with Garrett, he's so focused, so driven, so know exactly what he wants, and it can be stressful and hard. And almost like the more he gets worked up, the more it sort of unbalances your sort of natural flow. So I can remember those first few sessions or few seasons, and it was really, really stressful and hard, but I wanted it. And I think Garrett could see that. I think he could just see that I wanted it, and I was willing to try and put the time in. And then sometimes it just all clicks. And some of the waves that I've driven Garrett into, like as a surfer, this is a hard thing to explain, but for me, Garrett's waves are my career highlights, like the things I'm most proud about. And yeah, I don't know, I suppose it comes, Garrett's giving back, I suppose, and I really appreciate, his time, his energy, his passion. And to be fair, like, we've surfed a lot this season, and I feel like he's more hungry this season, just gone, than he has been for a long time, and I almost like had flashbacks of like 2010, 2011 with him being on the rope, and he's getting me obviously the best waves of my life, but he's surfing the best I think he's ever done. He's definitely like moving like a 20-year-old in the on some of those waves. That's super inspiring for me as well, because I'm like, okay, right, still got time.
I think he's so devoted to you because for me, you're one of the most kindest, humblest, and just you're an amazing human. And it's rare to find not only in the surf world, but in the world in general. And out of everyone, I've never heard you say an unkind thing about anyone. And
I don't know if that's true. No.
Well, it is true. You are, you really are. And I want everyone to know that about you too, because I don't get to say it in the show. So you really are.
That's really kind. I think sometimes with the surfing and me as well, like we start believing our own nonsense or like all the stuff, and at the end of the day, we're just surfing waves. For me, like when I met Garrett, I was just a part-time plumber, lifeguard, wannabe surfer from England. That's pretty unusual for someone of his caliber and vision and goals to trust someone. But what would you know what I mean? Like it was just like, whoa, like how could he? Because he could have got anyone to come, and to drive him. So yeah, that for me is just like, I think that speaks volumes. He changed everything for me for surfing. I wouldn't be a professional surfer, whatever that means, but yeah, I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for him, and obviously for you as well. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Cotty. What do you think it was about surfing that called you to it?
It's funny, like like obviously with school, everything's about team sports, especially in England. It's all about football, cricket, rugby, and it's all there's lots of obviously rules. There's a referee, there's the set times to play, in the clubs and whatnot. And well, one, I was pretty terrible at all team sports. And two, I kind of liked there being no rules. Like my dad just took me down the beach and just sat in the car and read the paper, and I just sort of made it up.
Do you happen to remember your very first wave?
I do remember the first time my dad took me to the beach. It was Easter holidays. It was at a beach called Saunton. It was raining. It was freezing cold. We rented a wetsuit and a board from there's a shack down there, and yeah, they walked me down, and I just went in the sea, and it was so cold. I remember being so cold, and I think my parents at that point thought, "There's no way he's going to want to do this again. Like this is enough to put anyone off surfing for their whole life, Like, but yeah, I think shortly after my dad bought me a board. Yeah, never really looked back. That was it.
Their trick didn't work.
No, it didn't. Yeah, it didn't work. But my dad's like a huge football fanatic. So like he really wanted me to be the football player, and I was just so anti the football. It was
Did you ever think in those teenage years that you would be a professional surfer?
I think in my teens that was the dream. But the trouble is that, unlike lots of other sports, like mainstream sports, there isn't a direct path into doing that or becoming that. I surfed a lot. I competed a lot in the hope of like one day, when I told my sort of like careers advisor, what I want to do, it was very much like, you can't do that. It's just not possible.
You told him that you wanted to be a professional surfer, or do you remember what you told your...
Yeah, like, I can remember being in the school library, and you had a meeting and you talked about like what you liked and your hobbies, and they sort of just try and like put you in the right path, like where you should go to college or university or what you need to do. And I can remember sort of saying, like my biggest passion was surfing, and that's what I wanted to do. And I think they were like flicked through a few books and was just like, there's nothing really down here. Like, yeah, it just wasn't really on an option. I remember in my maths book, I was just constantly drawing waves and surfing images, just doodling. And it was in one of my school reports, I think, or it was like a parents' evening. They said if he spent as much time thinking about his maths work as he does about drawing waves on his maths book, he'd probably be pretty good at maths. But
well,
it never happened.
You were doing something right, because that whole time you were manifesting this beautiful life you have right now, chasing the biggest waves in the world. So
yeah, when I left school, I knew I didn't want to go to college. I just wasn't that academic. My idea was like, okay, right, I can't be a professional surfer, but maybe I can work in the surf industry. So, and at that point, I didn't even know what the surf industry really was, so I just wrote loads of letters to brands, like surf brands, and which, obviously there wasn't that many in England, there's a few distributors and stuff, and that only one company got back to me, and it was a surfboard factory about 10, 15 miles away from where I lived, called Gulfstream. They were relatively new. They'd just been sort of started making boards, and they wrote back to me, and I left school and then started an apprenticeship there. Just started sweeping the floor, doing ding repairs, and then they slowly sort of taught me bits and bobs.
So from there, how did you end up plumbing?
Plumbing. Well, I really, really loved working in the surf industry, and I loved manufacturing surfboards, and it actually enabled me to like live the dream, because even though like I was working, a factory job and making surfboards, the focus was surfing. I think I would have stayed in that job forever, but my parents were just like, they sort of pressurized me to, I wouldn't say pressurized, maybe pressurized, but my dad suggested that I do a plumbing course. Actually, at the time, there's loads and loads of press about there being a shortage of plumbers in the UK. Plumbers earn good money. Like, if I'm going to do a trade, money's pretty good, and I can be self-employed in the long run.
What was it that made you say, you know what, not going to plumb anymore. I want to give surfing another shot, and I want to make big wave surfing my life and my career?
I can remember being at work, and I was just so over it. It was like at that point where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to focus more doing things that I like. And for me, that was like definitely not plumbing. So I quit my job. I was chatting to my friend Al Many, and he was on the sort of west coast of Ireland. Al bought a jet ski and was like, let's just like take it to the next level. And then we got invited to a few little contests, one in Chile, one in Oregon. It was actually where I met Garrett for the first time. Garrett probably wouldn't remember that, but and then in 2010, Garrett emails Al saying, I'm in Europe, you should come to Portugal. We're been surfing this crazy place called Nazaré. And Al was very much like, oh no, you should come to Ireland. And in the end, Garrett talked Al to sort of come down to Nazaré. And I pretty much was just tagging along, this is pretty amazing, because I was meeting Garrett for the first time, and obviously Garrett was already won multiple awards, and he was one of the biggest names in big wave surfing. What was it, like November 2010, I think? And that's when we first met as well. So,
yeah, I remember, because it was just Garrett and I, and he tried to put me on a wave, and we all know how that went. So there was no way that I was going to be Garrett's tow partner in Nazaré. And here we were alone. There was not a single surfer in Nazaré that would go out in those waves. You and Al accepted the invitation, and I remember we were in this small little apartment, and you guys walked in, and a few days after that, I think the first big swell was hitting.
Yeah, we came full the swell, I think.
Yeah.
And I can remember Garrett's first questions actually were to Al, were like, how good at you are driving the skis in beach breaks? And to be 100% honest, like, never really done it. You know, Ireland's all like slabs and, you know, like, so it's pretty easy to drive a ski there. You know, like, you just tow in and then you just go around the corner and you pick them up in the channel, you know, the surfers in the channel. And I can remember, I think we just said, yeah, we're good. But we like had no experience whatsoever. And I can remember like looking at the waves that first morning, just thinking, oh shit, like, we're really, really out of our depth. You know, like, what is going to happen here, you know?
Really, Cotty, you are one of the OGs because Garrett surfed it first and you surfed it second.
Well,
so you've really been there since day two. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but for me, like, I was just following, you know, and it takes someone to lead, you know, to have vision and to come up with all the ways to do it. And I was, you know, being in the right place at the right time, but also being a sponge, like wanting to learn, wanting to improve, wanting to help. And surfers are very like self-centered and it has to be about them or they don't want to do it. But yeah, just being part of a team is cool and knowing that your time will come.
In this week's episode, we learned that you're a father. I know firsthand, being a wife of one of you big wave surfers and being a mother to a child of a big wave surfer. How do you manage still following your dreams and being a dad?
Well, I think it actually motivated me. It was like, okay, right, I've got to make it happen, because it was like, if I want to do this, I've got to do it full time. Otherwise, like, I can't juggle being a dad, doing all these part-time jobs and chasing surfing. So it was a big driving force. But yeah, it takes its toll, you know, it takes its toll on any relationship, and it is hard, you know.
Ace? How's it going, man?
Good.
Yeah?
I'm just watching a movie.
This is the longest I've ever been away from them. All right, darling, well, I love you, and wish I was there. Last year they came out just after Boxing Day, and we hung out for like 10 days or a week, 10 days, I can't remember. But and it's just, I suppose this year, it's just I haven't seen them for a while, you know? So I just feel a bit like a shit dad, really.
How does it feel to watch it play back to you? Like watching the 100-foot wave and seeing the trials and tribulations, and
It's emotional. When Ace comes to Portugal and hangs out, you know, he doesn't really want to watch me surf big waves. You know, I think Ace has seen me come back after swells, either hobbling or on crutches, or, you know, like with just numerous injuries. So I think he's sort of now, like, he understands the dangers, and sometimes I do feel a little bit guilty for that, you know, like putting them through those traumas. Although he did say, like, well, he did say that he kind of liked it when I was injured because I was always at home. So, but yeah, it has been tough. You know, I hope I haven't put him off doing the things that I love doing. He kind of like takes, you know, take it or leave it with surfing, you know, not really that bothered. He kind of likes snowboarding a little bit, but his biggest passion's football. But yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it, really?
well, in all fairness, I think you can have the best parents in the entire world, and still, when their kids get older, they're going to find something to say that their parents ruined their life. So I think we're all doing pretty good. It seems to be the number one obstacle to people living their dreams and following their passions is, well, I have kids and I have to provide for them. So
Yeah.
even with Garrett, like, he gave up his professional career because he thought he had to have a regular job so he could support his family. So what advice would you give to parents out there who are listening and like, oh yeah, it would be real nice if I could live my dreams, but I have, children that I have to support. How can they, for people out there who have big dreams?
Yeah. Do you know what? I think it's a fine line, because I'm sure, like, you could look at me and say, like, okay, but you are selfish. You are selfish. And yeah, maybe, maybe I was, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like for me personally, I'd paint the picture like, oh no, I want to be like an inspiration to my kids, like prove that against all odds, you can make things happen and you can do it. But it's also how much you want it, because it would have been easy to say, oh, I can't do this, because it's kind of an excuse. But then, like Ace is 11 now, and when he's like probably like 16 and moved out of home or whatever, like, then I might resent him or be like bitter and go, oh look, like I would have done something, but I had to, go full-time plumbing because I had kids, like. So it's just such a minefield of like emotions and like questions and problems, like you can look at it either way, you can definitely look at it either way.
I always tell any friends who come to me like asking for advice about a certain situation, it can be any situation, and they have kids, I always flip it around and say, imagine this was your child coming to you for advice in this situation. What would you want your kid to do? So in this conversation, if our child was, should I follow my dreams or should I just take this because what society thinks? What would you want your kid to do?
Yeah.
So we have to be living by example, because we would want our kids to follow their dreams. We would want them to take a crappy job and be miserable.
And that totally, that makes me feel better. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you're right. And it's never taken lightly, and it's never been, it's not a simple, it's not black and white, It's definitely not black and white.
And I get to see, the behind the scenes, and you are an amazing father, and Ace is super lucky to have you as an example, because now he knows that anything's possible. And if he, wants to have a football career, he's going to go for it because you've shown him that it is possible.
Yeah, no, I hope so. Like, you try and guide them and like motivate them to do different things, and they usually do the opposite of what you say. So, but yeah, no, I hope so. I hope so.
But it's all about what you do. So they never listen to what we say, but they will do everything that we do.
Yeah.
So to wrap it up, what are your biggest hopes for the future?
My biggest hopes for the future. Do you know what? Like I have a lot of, like, I still have some serious goals, and I think they're like, I don't think they're hopes, they're goals, and I think to achieve those goals, that by just being like content with my surfing, happy, focused, and being on the swells that, are going to make a difference. But sometimes I feel that as big wave surfers, we put too much emphasis on the one single wave, and sometimes like it's more about enjoying that journey, and then it will just naturally unfold, rather than going in with this into every session like I need that wave, like, which is gonna, it's just about trying to enjoy it. So just enjoying my surfing, pushing it, and still improving. Like when I was 20, 25, I never thought I'd get any better at surfing. I was like, okay, right, that's it. Like, you don't improve because you just think, like, like, you don't improve past your 20 or your 25, like. And now, like, into my 40s, still improving at what I'm doing. It's getting better at surfing, getting better at driving the jet ski, and why can't you do that into your 50s? Like, and I think, Garrett's like living proof of that, like, if you really want it, yeah, you can still improve. You can still say, yeah, still improving and still dreaming and trying to make those dreams happen,
Have you heard about the 1% better?
Yeah.
So if you focus on just being 1% better than you were yesterday, by the end of the year, you're 365% better than you were when you started.
Yeah.
And it's great because age is no longer a boundary.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think that's maybe was a big thing of like taking the plumbing job at 25. It's like, oh, well, I'm done. I can't get any better at surfing anyway. Like, I'm going to change focus, and here I am. Like, I feel that, this year I feel like I've been faster than I ever imagined on a surfboard, been taking better lines and still improving. So.
Well, it makes me really happy to hear your goals are just to be content and leave yourself open to everything the universe wants to send you. But there's a small part of me that wants to see you ride the 100-foot wave. Yeah. So we can leave that as a goal too.
But you can't put pressure on those goals because then it becomes unenjoyable.
Well, right. It's all about releasing attachment. You set the goal and you release the attachment. And as long as you know you're putting that 1% every day,
doing what you
then you're living the dream.
Yeah.
It was really lovely to talk to you, Cotty. Thank you for giving me your time. And I wish we had more time to just sit and chat like this.
Yeah. It's nice, isn't it?
It is really nice. Super grateful for this moment.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Before we go, I wanted to share this bonus clip with you that didn't make it into the show. It's footage taken during the COVID surf ban that left several surfers in limbo, including Cotty.
When you're watching that stuff, like online, or like watching the live feeds, or watching seeing the photos and stuff from California, there's a huge part of you like you're thinking, oh, what am I doing? Like I should be there. You get that like you're missing out. You should be there. It's what you've been training for. I actually tried to get out to Maverick, inquired a few places to try and get a visa, and sort of came to a few dead ends, and then was like, okay, maybe it's a sign just to stay put, So I just ended up just hanging out in Nazaré pretty much the whole time.
That was Cotty talking about wanting to travel to different surf breaks with huge waves like Jaws and Mavericks. I don't think anyone knows the highs and lows of Jaws quite like big wave surfer Justine DuPont, which you'll see after watching next week's episode of 100-Foot Wave on HBO. This has been the official podcast for HBO's 100-Foot Wave. I'm your host, Nicole McNamara. Episodes air every Sunday at 8 p.m. Then join me for this podcast right after when I sit down with Justine and her partner in life and in the waves, Fred David. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to chatting next week.